Hello and welcome to the Show Day Podcast. Today is July 29th, 2019. Last night we saw the last meeting between all of the top DCI world-class contenders until this upcoming weekend in Allentown, and you can take Allentown for what it's worth. Scores are split over 2 nights, but still we're seeing everybody in the same place with the same judging panel. After last night, now tonight, we have an action-packed evening with 4 shows taking place across the Midwest and the eastern part of the United States. That's across both World Class and Open Class, 2 Open Class only shows, 2 World Class only shows. So definitely an action-packed night ahead, but first I'm going to recap what we saw last night in Winston-Salem, and it was a very interesting and incredibly entertaining show and recap that followed. So last night, Night Beats, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Carolina crowd's second and final home show of the season. Kind of a celebration of their 30th anniversary in 2019 for the organization, Night Beat being one of their biggest events, if not their biggest event each and every year. So, really a very interesting night. As I said earlier, watched this one live on Flow Marching. Whether it was the top 3, the next 3, smaller battles in between there, really just incredible what these scores are putting out, and there's still 2 weeks left for these scores to clean their shows and put out those final products in Indy, August 8th through the 10th. For the recap breakdown, I've split this lineup into the top 6 and then the next 5, so 1 through 6, 7 through 11, because of just how much there is a difference between those top 6 and those next few. That cutoff between 6 and 7 is evident each and every show. So, looking at general effect first, here are the top 6. Bluecoats have been defeating the Blue Devils here every night. They do once again a 38 even to a 37.7 for the Blue Devils. Vanguard not too far back at a 37.4. After that, there's a big cutoff from 3 to 4 here. 4th place in general effect last night went to the Cavaliers, a 36.5. Crown struggling there in general effect. We keep seeing this. They struggled last night at a 36.05 in general effect, and the Boston Crusaders in 6th at a 36 even. Boston Crusaders, Cavaliers, you notice here, Cavaliers are above the Boston Crusaders on the left here where the cores are listed. That is obviously because the Cavaliers defeated the Boston Crusaders last night, and it is obviously there's going to be changes that are going to be made at some of these cores. I'm sure Boston might be one of the cores we are watching for some of those changes to be made over the off season due to their season that they are currently in. When we look in the visual caption, I want to point out just a few things. First, in visual proficiency, you have Vanguard on top of the Bluecoats there, 18.82 to an 18.75. You also have Boston on top of the Cavaliers there. And then over in color guard, once again, even though Boston places 6th, they do extremely well in color guard with an 18.95, a 10th ahead of the Blue Devils. And then when we look at overall visual, everybody goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, except Boston jumps up because of that high color guard score. Then when we look at 7 through 11 here, general effect and visual. First in general effect, Blue Knights a 35.45. Blue Stars 34.8, just 0.3 above the Cadets. In general effect, Phantom at a 33.9 and Spirit at a 33.1. When we go over to visual, this does get interesting. Looking at proficiency first, you've got Cadets at a 17.5. You've got the Blue Stars at 17.4. Blue Knights struggling in that subcaption at a 17 even. Then you've got Phantom in 10th and Spirit in 11th. In analysis, Blue Knights top this group there in 7th, Blue Stars 8th, Phantom in 9th, Spirit in 10th, and Cadets fall to 11th there, 1.2 behind the Blue Knights in visual analysis. And then when we look at color guard, this is where the Blue Knights have struggled somewhat this season. We have the Blue Stars and Cadets ahead of them. Blue Knights slot in at 9th. Then Phantom, even though they've been losing to Spirit sometimes in color guard, they don't last night. They place ahead, but it's only by 0.05 in that subcaption. When we look at overall visual, you've got the Blue Stars at 26.25. In 7th, Blue Knights at 25.975. In 8th and 9th, you got the Cadets, 10th, the Phantom Regiment, and in 11th, Spirit of Atlanta. Then in music, jumping back up to the top 6, then you've got Brass once again going to Carolina Crown and an 18.7 to the Bluecoats, who place 2nd with an 18.55. Blue Devils in 3rd there, Vanguard in 4th. 5th, you got the Cavaliers, and then 6th, the Boston Crusaders. Music analysis, Carolina Crown in 1st, 2nd Bluecoats rather. 3rd place in music analysis to the Cavaliers. They do very well there. 4th to Santa Clara Vanguard. 5th to the Blue Devils. And 6th to the Boston Crusaders. Blue Devils have struggled in music analysis and brass this season. Do okay in brass. Last night analysis, though, a bit of a struggle. And then when we look at percussion, Vanguard jumps to the top there, as they've been doing, but a smaller margin last night. We saw them win music in Atlanta. They placed 4th, and that's in large part due to how they did in percussion. I mean, yes, brass and analysis definitely do play into that. But percussion, with them being at an 18.9 to the Blue Devils' 18.85, that's half of a tenth of a point. And then you go down even more, you have to divide that by 2 pretty much, so it ends up being like 0.025 that they're ahead, so it's really nothing. So Vanguard, even though they win percussion, it doesn't help their score too much. 2nd in percussion, as I said, Blue Devils. 3rd, Bluecoats. 4th, Carolina Crown. 5th, the Cavaliers, and the Boston Crusaders place in 9th in percussion. They just keep going down there. I'm not really positive what's going wrong for them there, because they are performing very well on a consistent basis in percussion. Definitely something is not where it needs to be there for the Boston Crusaders. When we look at overall music, I mentioned Vanguard did not win last night. They did the night before. Crown coming out with the music victory at 28 even. Blue Devils and Bluecoats tied half of a tenth of a point behind Carolina Crown at a 27.95, and Vanguard a tenth behind Crown at a 27.9 rather. So you've got those top 4 in music all within a tenth of each other. That's incredibly close competition at the top in this caption. Cavaliers in 5th in music, and then you've got Boston about a point behind the Cavaliers in music, and of course that's due to that percussion score and also analysis being pretty far back. So Boston definitely looked for maybe some changes in the music caption this offseason. When we look at the overall scores from last night, Blue Devils at the top of 94.15, Bluecoats finished 2nd at 84.075, so once again, those scores are incredibly close. They meet once again tonight in Centerville. 3rd place to Santa Clara Vanguard, 93.4, not as close as they were, but still pretty close. Crown in 4th at a 91.575, just about 2/10 ahead of the Cavaliers at a 91.4. So look for the Cavaliers; they keep gaining, and they're ahead of the Boston Crusaders now too. So really just some incredible competition and extremely interesting stuff happening right now at the top of DCI's World Class Division. Then when we look at the bottom half of music and then the overall show, looking at Brass first, Cadets, they've gone everywhere from finishing top 7 here to going all the way down to 13th. Really, it depends on the night, and it does seem like they're getting better here, but still definitely room to improve. Brass, as I said, Cadets 7th, 8th to the Blue Knights, Blue Stars in 9th, those 3 cores within 2/10 actually of each other. Spirit in 10th in brass, they top Phantom there. Phantom, another core, they finished 9th the other night in Atlanta in brass. Now this show, they're showing maybe 11th or 12th, or maybe even 13th when we throw everybody in here, which is really just throwing Crossmen and Mandarins in here. So really some inconsistency with these corps, though, right now, particularly the Cadets and Phantom Regiment. When we look at music analysis, you've got Blue Knights in 7th, Cadets in 8th, Phantom 9th. Blue Stars fall to 10th there. Definitely something they need to improve in is the things being judged in music analysis. 11th, Spirit of Atlanta, then. And then when we look at percussion, Cadets all the way up in 6th, Blue Knights, Blue Stars in 7th and 8th. Boston Crusaders fall all the way to 9th, Phantom Regiment in 10th, and Spirit of Atlanta in 11th. When then we take a look at the overall music scores, Cadets up there in 7th. Really, music is what is keeping the Cadets up here, and not necessarily keeping them in line with Blue Knights and Blue Stars, but when we saw them going against Mandarins defeated them one night, Cadets defeated them in their next competition then on this past Saturday, and that's in large part due to this music score, because the Cadets are so strong here and the Mandarins really struggle in brass and percussion, and really that just contributes to analysis, which those three just contribute to that overall music score. So anyway, Cadets 7th at this one, 26.45. Only a half of a tenth above the Blue Knights, but still placing 7th does probably give them a little bit of momentum or motivation. Blue Stars in 9th, Phantom in 10th, and Spirit in 11th. Overall scores on the night, Blue Knights in 7th and 87.825. Blue Stars in 8th and 86.85, just 2/10 above the Cadets, who finished with an 86.65. So even though we thought the Cadets might be placing 10th, they're actually now closer to 8th after last night. So we'll have to see how everything plays out over the next 2 weeks. Phantom in 10th and 84.425, and Spirit of Atlanta finishes the night in 11th at an 83 even. I would definitely have to say that right now Phantom is showing that they belong in finals and that they're probably not going to fall out. So tonight, 4 shows on the schedule across World Class and Open Class. When you look at World Class, you've got the corps that weren't at Winston-Salem, left Atlanta, and have been in West Virginia or North Carolina or wherever they've been for really the past 2 days. And then you've also got those corps that were in Winston-Salem now moving up into more of the mid-Atlantic region and somewhat of the Midwest. So really, the corps, think of how the schedule is. Early season local shows, check. Really that Midwest tour, like the early middle of July, check. Texas tour, check. Southeast tour, swamp tour, whatever you want to call it, check. And now is where the corps all now venture up the East Coast, and of course that culminates in Allentown this weekend. And then, what do you know? It's championship week a week from today, so hard to believe, but it is. So anyway, that's kind of the state of what's going on. Now to dive into those 4 shows. Tonight, first one, Drums Across the Tri-State in Charleston, West Virginia. This one will get underway 7:30 Eastern Time with the Welcome National Anthem. We've got 3 corps before the intermission, the Seattle Cascades, the Madison Scouts, and Pacific Crest. And the intermission will be at 8:29. 8:59, we've got the Academy, 9:16, the Mandarins, and 9:33, Phantom Regiment. Phantom Regiment will play the encore at 9:50, and then scores will be announced somewhere around 10:15. So, what are we looking for here? You've got Mandarins versus Phantom here. So really, we don't have any of the top 9 corps, but we do have some interesting competition immediately outside of that. So first, looking at Mandarins and Phantom. Mandarins have been somewhat ahead of Phantom Regiment so far this season, but still, Phantom, I think, has something to add into that show. I'm not sure what it is, but it sure seems like maybe something else is coming. So you've got them versus the Mandarins tonight. Phantom, if they could close a little bit more on the Mandarins, that would be huge for them. And if they could, I don't know how much that has to do with them going against the Mandarins, but maybe more with them going against the Crossmen when they meet once again later in the next 2 weeks. Outside of those 2, you've also got the Academy and Pacific Crest. I think Pacific Crest is still going to gain on the Academy and Colts and is going to come pretty close to Spirits. I think Pacific Crest is definitely setting them up or themselves up for awesome success for the rest of the season. And then you got Madison and the Seattle Cascades. Of course, score goals are probably what they're looking for tonight. Second show is Soaring Sounds in Centerville, Ohio. This one will get underway at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Welcome to National Anthem. We've got a all-age class performance by Cincinnati Tradition at 7:10. Then two cores before the intermission in Music City and the Troopers. 8:01, there'll be an intermission. 8:31, action resumes with the Colts. So we go really from outside of finals here to the two best cores. You've got the Bluecoats and Blue Devils then after the Colts performance. The encore will be played at 9:22, and then 9:47 scores will be announced. Obviously, if we had to question, what's the biggest battle here at this show tonight? Maybe the top two in the world class division right now. We got the Bluecoats and the Blue Devils here. Last meeting until this upcoming Friday. Bluecoats kind of go off and do this whole Band of Excellence thing and the Pro Football Hall of Fame game and all that. So really, they're kind of off the grid until later this week. So last meeting between these two, we'll see how they do tonight, and then see what they add in over these next few days, and then they'll be in Allentown on Friday night, this upcoming Friday, that is. When we look past them, and not that I want to, because that battle is so heated right now with those cores going back and forth each and every night, you also have to look at the Colts. Could they continue to maybe move in an upward direction at maybe an 82-83? Could they get up there? I'm not sure if they can, but it'd be a good thing for them if they could. And then Troopers also keep working your way up. Obviously, want to hit that 80 mark by the end of the season, and Music City probably want to get in that 75, 76 point range by the end of the season. That's probably their goal. This show here, very nice weather conditions all day during rehearsals and all that. It does seem like there might be thunderstorms in Centerville at about 7 o'clock, right when this show's about to get underway. So maybe look for a maybe delayed start here, but definitely I'm sure this one will end up happening, even though it might rain just for 20 minutes or whatever. Third show tonight is DCI Hoosier Heartland in Plymouth, Indiana. Plymouth, Indiana, in the general vicinity of the Indianapolis metro area. Not like incredibly close, like 30 minutes or anything, but definitely not like 3 hours. When we look at this lineup for this show tonight, we've got the same battles we've been seeing in White Lake and Sheffield these past few shows, with the same cores in them this previous Friday and Saturday night. Spartans versus Legends at the top. Can Legends close any closer in to the Spartans? Closest they've been has been about 1 to 2 points, or somewhere in the middle there. So can they close any closer to Spartans, or do Spartans continue to pull away maybe? Then looking at the rest of the lineup, you've also got 7th Regiment and Southwind. 7th Regiment got the closest they've got to Southwind all season this past Saturday night in Westlake. Can they come any closer? Obviously is a question that we'll be watching with the recap tonight. And then we also have this open class finalist battle. Who will be the core that takes that 12th and final spot in open class finals? Will it be Heatwave? Will it be the Raiders? Will it be the Lace Centaurs? Could even the Colt Cadets maybe even slide down there? That's a question also worth pondering right now. But we do see Raiders versus Heatwave versus Lace Centaurs once again tonight. Lace Centaurs have been incredibly strong in the visual caption, getting up there even pretty close to those top 4 in that. And then also the Raiders and Heatwave do have areas where they're stronger than their opponents, but also areas where they're weaker. So just something worth considering in that battle. Who will come out on top? Well, we won't know that for another week, because I don't think one core will pull away from another until the end of the season. One final note on this show tonight. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this show was rained out last year, and it does seem like that might be happening again. I don't want to totally say any definites, because of course weather forecasts can change, but showers and thunderstorms, they move through this area all day for the rehearsals, and also there's a somewhat minimal, like a 35% chance of rain, but also getting up there to like a 60% chance of rain during the show. So I'm not 100% positive that we'll get this event in, but of course, if they can, it will be an awesome recap to go over, and I'm sure awesome performances will be held there tonight. And the final show of tonight is the DCI Shoreline Classic in Storm Lake, Iowa, a new event on the DCI tour schedule this year. Of course, just probably replacing one of those events. They always do kind of shift locations in that Iowa, that Midwest tour that these open class cores go on every year. So when we look at who's at this event, same cores that were at Oskaloosa on Saturday. You've got Colt Cadets, Shadow, River City Rhythm, and Intermission, the Louisiana Stars, Guardians, and Gold. Gold is going to come out on top here. I keep saying this, and they do, but they need to improve those scores. They were at a 75 when they were in Denver on the 24th. Then they came down to a 73. Then they're at a 71 as of Saturday. They've got to keep getting that, or got to start getting that higher and higher. 72, 73, 74 definitely has to happen tonight, or at least by the end of, I'd say, probably Wednesday or Thursday, because Spartans and Legends are scoring above where Gold is scoring. I know, don't compare scores over two different shows, but still, it's something worth noting and considering. Then also this incredibly interesting battle, especially between Louisiana Stars and River City Rhythm, but also throwing Guardians in there. River City Rhythm and Louisiana Stars have swap placements in their two contests. Louisiana Stars got second in one, River City Rhythm got second in the other. So how will they shake out tonight? Obviously a question. There are also two players that can maybe get in there for that top 5 spot, depending on how scores do shake out by next week. And then also looking at throwing the Guardians in there. If they can get a 65 or 66 tonight, that'd be awesome for them. And then Shadow, keep gaining. I know the 60-point mark was a bit of a disappointment in Cape Girardeau on Friday. They did improve upon that by about 3 points by Saturday. If they can keep that up and get 64 or 65 tonight, that'd be great for them. And then Colt Cadets break 60 tonight, get 61, 62, and they'll be in a good place above where Heatwave and Raiders and Lee Centaurs currently are in that finalist bubble conversation. This show here, incredibly awesome weather conditions. Extremely nice conditions all day, and at night it's like at the mid 70s and sunny with like no chance of rain. It is awesome weather conditions in Storm Lake, Iowa, for this event tonight. So thank you for watching the podcast. Just a few things. Make sure to visit my website, drumcorpscentral.weebly.com, for all the latest updates from the DCI and DCA summer tours. Scores, schedules, leaderboards, and more can all be found on my own personal website about all things Drum Corps. Make sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Drum Corps Geek, and subscribe to the Show Day podcast on YouTube, where this podcast and more will be posted. And finally, leave your thoughts in the comment sections, questions, input, comments, etc. It'd all be greatly appreciated. And just a final note here for today, I would like to thank everyone that wrote yesterday to me or commented on the video about the video having no sound. Not exactly sure what the technical difficulty was on my end, but definitely going to make sure that never happens again. So, as always, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your Monday.